Hi guys, it's Carissa. I have a video today that is a sensitive subject for some people and it may be controversial, but I felt like this is something that is occasionally on my mind and that there shouldn't be a better place for me to talk about this than with you. This is a real thing, and that it's worth finding comfort in others and discussing because there are so many fears associated with trying to conceive. Will the baby be healthy? Will the pregnancy stick? Having this support and having others with similar experience to talk about any of these things with is so helpful. So hopefully if you have some of the same thoughts or if there are things that you want to talk about as well, you can find that this is a forum to do so, and you can leave comments or make your own video about how you feel about these things. So what are these fears that I'm talking about? They feel silly to say out loud, but I think that I can justify feeling the way that I do because I know that with any great goal in life, there are fears associated with the success of that goal. Not a reason to not do it at all. But again, I think that the mind can kind of become overwhelmed by the concept of success and automatically kind of create these fears to protect us in a way, and in some cases hinder us. There are things that can kind of sit in the back of our mind and nag at us, although we know that ultimately this goal that we're looking to achieve is well worth all of the benefits and the things that are so great about doing it in the first place. And for us, trying to conceive is kind of an uphill battle. For most of us, it feels like a series of disappointment and frustration, and it feels like we're never going to get to our destination. And although that, for most of us, is all we've ever wanted and all we want so badly, there are some fears associated with it, natural ones. And the ones that kind of nag at me, I think that just the fact that I'm aware of them makes me less likely to succumb to them if and when it happens. So I'm finding a little bit of comfort in the fact that I may be hypersensitive to these situations and therefore I'll be able to prevent them from being an issue. But I have no shortage of thoughts on this matter. It's not enough to keep me from wanting to conceive, and please don't mistake it as being the case. If I'm having a difficult time explaining it, it's because I don't want to give the impression that I'm allowing this to cause mental anguish or roadblocks in this process for me. These are just little tiny things that hit me every now and that I'm so curious about, crossing that finish line. Will these things be a problem? Just based on everything that I've had to go through to get to that point. So that's what I'm here to talk about today. And if you have been there, if you have concerns of your own, I'm just hoping that this helps other people and honestly, of course, myself in the process. So one of the things that I think about constantly is the miracle baby syndrome, where it's possible that my husband and I are only able to have one child, which would be so wonderful. At this point, that is all we're looking to do, at the very, very least, is have one biological child between the two of us. And I think sometimes about that and worry that this would become that, miracle baby that I don't want to ever get hurt or fall down or do anything ever again. Among these things, I think of a lot of them have to do with me being worried that my parenting skills will be affected by how difficult it was to have the baby in the first place. So for example, another one of my fears is that I will forever think about the sacrifices that we made financially, physically, etc., and use that as leverage in the difficult years. I get this strange feeling that I can easily pull out this really bizarre, unrelatable issue as a defense for my decisions and why this child can't do the things that it wants to do. You are not hanging out with those boys. They're a terrible influence. I did not pay $20,000 to have you so you could hang out with those delinquent boys. Do you really think that you're leaving the house wearing that? Because I didn't pay $20,000 to have a baby that's going to dress like a hooker. Because do you have any idea what your father and I went through to have you? Hi. Hey, little girl. Hi. Now, I realize I'm being extreme, but obviously we're human beings, and we've all... Lucy likes the smell of my lip gloss, I think. Gross. We have all experienced fights with our parents where we said things we didn't mean, and we know our parents did too. And if you were lucky enough not to live in that kind of circumstance, more power to you, but pretty much everyone I know has experienced that at some point. And I get really worried that I'm going to hold on to this for some reason and really rub it in whenever I have the chance to. Obviously, like I said, knowing that that's something I'm worried about doing, I'll try my hardest not to, and there's really no reason why I should ever make my own child feel guilty for being born after everything that I've done. So, another thing that I worry about, and this is my greatest concern regarding trying to conceive and spending a lot of money for IVF because it's possibly the direction I'll have to go in. And regardless of whether or not that ends up being our method of conception, up until now, we still have already done so much and spent so much money. I think about it in a lot of ways like the way you feel the day after Christmas, or even later in the day after Christmas morning, or planning a wedding and the day after the wedding, or maybe the day you come back from your honeymoon if you go directly after the wedding. I think there's something to be said for planning and spending a lot of money and time and effort on a great event or something that you've worked very hard to achieve, and then feeling down afterwards and feeling depressed. And therefore, my greatest fear for after trying to conceive is postpartum depression. I know it's a really real thing, and unfortunately there are a lot of women who have been denied that claim, that it's all in their head or they just need to snap out of it, things like that. But the truth is when you want something so badly and you spend exhausting amounts of time and money trying to get it, when you actually do, there is a chance that you won't feel the joy that you expect to, whether it's a chemical imbalance, whether it is hormones. It's really hard to know what could cause those feelings of disappointment, but there is always that chance that coming out onto the other side of infertility and succeeding and getting to where you want to be, you may have moments where you wonder, why don't I feel as happy as I thought I would? Why isn't this exactly what I pictured it to be? And although I feel like that would be so unlikely, I know that it's not impossible. And I know that it's something that definitely happens to women, and it's definitely a real condition and issue. I feel that just the fact that I don't want it to sound like I'm bogged down by this, I'm debilitated by it in any way. It does not make me not want to try or have a family of my own. I just think that there's a chance that that could happen, and it is frightening to me. But the fact that I'm considering that that could be the case makes me feel a little bit relieved. Like, I'll do my very best to seek help if that's the issue, or be as vocal about it as possible so that I can overcome it as quickly as I can. But I know that I don't want to say be careful what you wish for, because the joy of having our own baby together as a couple far, far outweighs any of the potential tiny little negatives that, let's face it, would be fleeting issues in our lives in the grand scheme of being parents. So that's where I stand. Those are the things that I think about when I think about what could happen if we are to get everything that we want. What should I be looking out for if that's the case? So please share with me if you feel comfortable and you feel that you are okay with doing so, how you feel about the subject, what you've thought about in the past, and maybe we can all find a little bit of comfort in revealing those things together. Because ultimately, what we are all working so hard for, it will be one of the greatest things we do in our entire lives, and there's nothing about that that scares me. I'm looking very much forward to having that chapter in my life come to be, and in no way do I want anyone to take what I've said here the wrong way. I just want this to be a safe place for us all to talk about the things that frustrate us, scare us, and pop up every now and then when we think about actually getting to where we want at the end of this long, long road. So thank you for everyone being so supportive and making me feel comfortable to talk to you all about this. I think Lucy heard me talking about having a baby, and she came running in here to change my mind. She says, "I am your baby." No, Luce. Thanks a lot, guys.